WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. In my pursuit of NFL ownership last week in Arizona, all I could hear about was the Browns, and more Browns. And I know John Harbaugh was tired of hearing that in the morning at the breakfast. But the questions did come around. The Browns, the new powerhouse. This guy has been covering Cleveland sports since back when Art Modell was a part of the Browns, and back before they won championships and LeBron was there the first time. He is the author of one of my favorite books, but there have been 31 of them. Mine is Loose Balls, if you're an old ABA fan as well. He is a longtime sports columnist for the Cleveland Plain Dealer, and you can find him at terrypluto.com as well as Terry Pluto out on Twitter. And a tough man to track down, but always great guest. What's going on, Terry Pluto? Are you sharpening your pen for that first Browns Super Bowl championship book? No? Maybe?
It's like the Browns are having this week they're having one of their, the basically touch football camps is what they are. And you would think with the way the town is going, it's like they're getting ready for the Super Bowl already. This is as big a Browns fever as I've seen probably, I don't know, since the Bernie days.
But it's because they haven't played lately. I mean, exactly. I'm not trying to be mean, but I mean, I love your town.
Exactly
you know?
Why. Yeah, no, and I do too, but it's like Browns fans can get off the hook pretty quick and in terms of, wanting to just buy into anything. I mean, I had somebody say to me the other day because they're upset about Paul Dolan, spending that much on the innings or whatever. But Jimmy Haslam's the best owner in town. I said, maybe you ought to get to 500 first before you say that. But they're very excited because they got Odell Beckham and, they have Baker Mayfield. And they have a lot of talent. They really do. But even Freddie Kitchens, the rookie coach, says there's a bunch of teams in the NFL running around with these kind of guys, guys who are talented or whatever, but how will they play together? How will the coaching staff handle it? I mean, one of the things I think we saw last year with Baltimore, the continuity paid off. Harbaugh was able to turn that thing over at midseason to Lamar Jackson and get him into the playoffs. I mean, that's what you do when you're really a solid organization, and the Browns have to learn all that stuff.
Well, I mean, do you believe in the Ravens? I mean, maybe that's another question because I could find everybody that believes in Baker Mayfield and nobody that believed in Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's the guy getting. I mean, I'm not saying I believe in Lamar Jackson. I think it's far-fetched to think that you're going to have a quarterback running into linebackers 8, 10, 12, 15 times a game and that's going to be a sustainable thing, especially one with kind of a questionable arm and accuracy. Yet Baker Mayfield sort of kind of walks on water, can do no wrong, even though the outcomes were different for them. One didn't necessarily fare better than the other, but one is getting all the bets in Vegas right now. It's an interesting statement to make about both of these guys because they're going to play it out on the field the same way Flacco and Roethlisberger played. I mean, if these guys are for real, they're going to play 10 football games against each other the next 5 years, right? We're going to be able to measure it.
Oh, yeah, we will. And also the two organizations, how do you build around your quarterbacks? I mean, that's what I was impressed by Baltimore, how they were able to turn that whole offense around in a completely different way from Flacco. Do it on the move, not in training camp, but at midseason, and get it into the playoffs. I mean, step number one is you got to get to the playoffs. I mean, it's sort of like Browns fans. It's like I want to say before you get to the Super Bowl, you got to get in the playoffs. I mean, this is sort of 101 basics, but what was the old line? Irrational exuberance. Now Mayfield, because of his accuracy and everything, he's impressive. But this is actually the first time since the Browns came back that there could be a legitimate discussion that the Browns have a good enough quarterback to win the AFC North.
Well, it doesn't take long, right? I mean, in the old days, it was, you got to give him 3 years. We got to give him a year and a half to back up. And, we'll let him sit around behind Bernie or Sipe or whatever it was. In the new era, when you see Jared Goff quarterbacking and you see Lamar Jackson running around playing a playoff game, you can easily buy into, well, we don't have to wait for him to be 28 to be any good anymore, and they're not waiting on that either. And maybe that was part of the Browns. And look, you wrote the Browns Blues, and I mean, come on, man. We've known each other a long time. You look to your left and see me in every press box there's ever been around Ravens game. So I've seen it all as well, and all these quarterbacks, and I've seen the names get ripped off the back of the jerseys and replaced every year and all that stuff. It is a little early on to be anointing Baker Mayfield, but certainly the rest of football certainly sees it that way. Vegas sees it that way.
One thing you can see, though, you can see the talent. You can see he's pretty good. The other thing I think that helped Baker is, he was a guy that I think he had 46 in college starts. That's a big deal. Sure. I think that really helped him. And he's older. He's like 23, 24. He's not 20. So those things, came into play for him. And I wasn't a big Baker Mayfield fan. I think I had him like third on my list. I like the two Joshes ahead of him, Allen and Rosen, so it shows what I know. And Jackson, I thought, was interesting, going to be a real long-term project. I did not anticipate he can get in there and play like he did. And, he's got weaknesses, but, the bottom line is, do you win or not? And they won a lot of games with that kid in Baltimore. What were they, 6-1 in the regular season with him starting, I believe?
Well, the Kansas City game and the sort of the phantom pass was the only time he got beaten. So until San Diego saw him the second time. Terry Pluto is our guest. His book was The Browns Blues: 2 Decades of Utter Frustration. It's going the other direction. They've had a parade now. You've witnessed that after writing basketball books about failures and all of that stuff. This is a funny question to ask you, but I've written about Peter Angelos's demise of the Orioles here, right? And you've witnessed that. You're a baseball fan as well. You know how bad it is, and they're selling that they're going to win the World Series in 2025, and some people are buying it, right? But you wrote a book about ineptitude. I can promise you this, that like my book on the Peter Principles, which I published online, that if I published it, no one would want to buy it. No one really wants to read what a heinous, despicable human being Peter Angelos has been for 25 years and how it's sort of destroyed the baseball team and destroyed baseball in a lacrosse town now, Terry. It's tough selling a book on losing, even when the brand is bigger than the output, right?
Well, and the sad thing, the Orioles, I covered them in 1979 for the Evening Sun, and that was just the epitome of a great organization, really smart. Didn't win a ton of World Series, but, man, they were in the playoffs, and they were good. Actually, in some ways, the Indians, are kind of like that now. They draft well, even if they're not spending a ton of money. They have ownership that stays out of the way, and ownership that people like Terry Francona want to work for. I mean, that's one of the ways you get around when you're not a big budget team is you have a lot of stability in your front office and you create an environment where people want to be. Of course, Baltimore's the opposite of all those things. and so that's what's really makes my heart ache, because I just remember that one year I was covering the Orioles before I came back home to do the Indians. By the way, I felt like I went from baseball graduate school with Hank Peters and Earl Weaver to like kindergarten for what was going on here. I suddenly realized how far away the Indians were. And the irony is that the guy that got them going back in the right direction, they brought Hank Peters here to Cleveland, and then he brought his disciple John Hart. And in fact, the Oriole way, Dan O'Dowd, those guys were the ones that revived the Indians of the 90s, the old Oriole way.
Not to mention Eddie Murray and Denny Martinez as well.
Yeah, exactly. They brought them in to get that culture going. But the way that they were doing the front office stuff was the way they did it the old days with the Orioles. It's kind of like you're working around some of your disadvantages. Because you don't have – that's the thing that actually is always most frustrating to me about the Browns. Of all the sports set up to make it an equal chance, whether you're in Cleveland, Green Bay, New York, or New England, it's all the same in the NFL because of the way they do it with the tough salary cap and the draft, if you just do it right.
Well, the only thing that stays the same is the owner, right? Like, that's the constant with the Orioles. And certainly you mentioned the Indians and ownership getting out of the way, going back to the Jacobs family and what they did with Hank Peters.
Right.
The Browns have notoriously had this Haslam group not only in trouble with the Federales, but also, I know Mike Pettin well. I know George Kokanis well. I know Phil Savage well. I've heard the tales, and the tales grow taller on down the line, and John Dorsey's looking to swim up that stream the same way Elias and Sig Mejdal here are on the baseball side. That's you and I have been around a long time, and until Jimmy Haslam figures it out, the franchise isn't going to figure it out, right?
Yes, I mean, we're hoping right now that Dorsey has gained enough of a power position to get some stability going, because he came in his first full year as GM. They end up going 7-8-1, and they acted like they wanted to have a happy parade here. And he clearly made a lot of good draft choices and did a lot of things right. And so, but what will happen this year? Because even if the Browns end up playing fairly well, Nestor, I anticipate them starting slow. I really do. You have so many. The whole coaching staff is new. I mean, Freddie Kitchens has never been a head coach before. He was a coordinator for 8 games. And the defensive coordinator is new, and the special teams coach is new, and the offensive coordinator is new.
Well, we're calling everybody a genius. Hugh Jackson was still coaching this team last time I looked. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, literally.
I mean, exactly. I mean, just showed how bad Hugh was. Because Greg Williams came in and was sort of a, let's get things organized, kind of an okay at best NFL coach. And they started basically every team they beat when Greg Williams was in had a losing record, but good. I mean, it's about time they beat somebody. And, they played Baltimore tough that last day. So you could see the improvement. But this year, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Baker Mayfield, you got a lot of strong personalities. It's gonna be a challenge for a rookie head coach. It will.
Terry Pluto is here. The book is The Browns Blues. You can go read that or any of the other 31 books. All right, last question for you, and this speaks to the heart of the matter for me. I'm about to launch something called Baltimore Positive. My city is in a lot of trouble, as you can well imagine. You're in Cleveland, so you can insert whatever joke, kick in the crotch.
You've been through. I've grown up with it.
Fire on the river. We can go through all of that, right? We go through all of it. What fixed Cleveland? And I don't even mean to be trite or whatever. I've been going to Cleveland for 30. I was the Elway Drive game was the first time I set foot in Cleveland with Phil Jackman. We were both working at the Evening Sun, so we flew in on January, whatever that was, 1986. So that's how long I've been going there. And I saw it get really bad. And I saw the Flats go away and then come back, and I saw the football team go away and come back. And I've seen the basketball team sort of go away and come back and all that. I am amazed at how nice Cleveland has become again. And what fixed Cleveland? How has it improved? Because at some point, cities stop getting worse, and something happens to at least level it out so that it can at least stop being bad and get a little better. I feel that way about Cleveland. Am I wrong to feel that way, Terry?
No, I mean, look, it's not a boom town or whatever, but the remarkable thing is this, the last, say, 7 to 10 years, how many people are now, younger people moving downtown, where it was totally a suburban place before. And secondly, it just seems like a different variety of, it's not driven by one or two industries. It's got a lot of different things going for it. And I do think one of the things that does help Cleveland is you can actually buy a house here.
Sure.
Or a condo. I mean, seriously, that's one of the advantages of the Midwest. You get on the two coasts, and it's like, forget it. You're not going to Baltimore, thank goodness, is a lot better than D.C., but still it's far more expensive than Cleveland. And I think that's one of the things that have helped. And
affordability. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and also there in the Cleveland Clinic, they got a lot of medical stuff. Cleveland Clinic is a monster. It's like Johns Hopkins, really. And so that's helped it. But, it is the smallest city with a NBA, MLB, and NFL team. It's a 19th market, so it's not real big. But, they've been asked to hang in there, and, I'm 63 years old. I think I've lived here 60 of the 63 years. So, I'm proud about that. And again, I enjoyed my year in Baltimore. That was 79 before Baltimore got to be kind of cool, for a while. So it's cool to see both cities, doing well. And they both have their challenges, but I don't know. I do like the underdog city. I always have.
Well, no longer an underdog. Got another chance to win a World Series here. Now you got the best football team in the NFL. Just ask anybody. I tell you what, life is better in Cleveland, and it'll be better to come in there in the fall and have a team that's not going to be 2-14 this year. But it will stir up the rivalries amongst the Cincinnatis and the Pittsburghs, and it'll be fun. Terry, it's always great to visit with you. Thanks for making some time, and we'll continue to be on the lookout for your Browns coverage, pal.
Take care.
Terry Pluto, longtime author, one of the great ones out there, long time with the Cleveland Plain Dealer, has been in Northern Ohio dotting the I for, as he said, 60 of his 63 years. Go read his books. He's a great writer. And if you just want to pick loose balls about the ABA and go laugh a little bit. But that's more my era with the red, white, and blue basketball. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I'm out on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat and Instagram and streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. The Buy buyatoyota.com audio vault is there 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. Access, listen to what you want, when you want, where you want. The kids call it podcasting. We call it the buyatoyota.com audio vault. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.